Hey folks, welcome to another VR video. Last fall I had the opportunity to attend an awesome event alongside Oculus Connect 6 in San Jose called Dimension X. Hosted by Nick Mitchell and Max Noir from FXG, Dimension X included panel discussions, live VR and analog art, demos of new and upcoming technology like the Nreal Light and Finch Shift, and an amazing cross-section of the VR community. I made a lot of friends that night, and when the folks at FXG announced that they'd be doing a second iteration of Dimension X in VR inside Engage, I was excited to be able to attend and document the festivities. This second Dimension X event was focused around VR journalism and features a panel interview, a clip of a powerful 360 video, and a virtual performance from one of America's greatest up-and-coming rock bands. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a window into an evening that took place on Friday the 31st of July 2020. And the cool news is Dimension X is actually going to become a monthly event, and I'm going to try to go to as many of these as possible because I really love being engaged within this platform and being able to document these awesome discussions and show that VR isn't just about games or just about making experiences. It's also about having connections and having those experiences inside that virtual reality.
Make a little announcement. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dimension X 2.0. I'm your host, Nick Mitchell, and my co-host. Oh, where's my co-host?
Yes.
Where is she?
Where is she?
Oh, there she is.
There,
What an
yay!
Whoa!
Yeah.
What an
Yes.
entry. Woo. Can I get a slow clap, everybody? Yeah.
Great to be here, guys. Good to see everyone.
Oh, should I put Max? You want to go on 3D, non-3D audio?
Sure.
We're all on non-3D audio.
These kind of stages didn't need mics because they were built with scientific knowledge of acoustics and sound just naturally amplified.
I love it.
I think that's true.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Just like the Romans. So today we're talking about journalism and we're talking about VR and we're here VR. And what I wanted to do just to start off with a little bit of an breaking journalist game. The game is pretty simple. Split into groups of 2 and be a journalist. So try and find a story about the person you're talking to. Is that simple enough? So story where what when can be any story about the person you're talking to, and ideally somebody you've never met. All right, everybody. If you y'all wanna mosey up and down, do the. Did we figure out what this part of the stage is called yet? The Pleasantine. Well, I hope that was fun. And actually, does anybody want to share the story that they got? The journalisted? What's the verb? There's a couple journalists here. What's the verb for journalisting in something out of somebody?
Journalisting.
Journalisting?
Is the actual
Okay.
word I use. Yeah, journalisting is the.
Journalisting? A call up from Bobby. Hi, this is Bobby from VR Scout, and I'm wondering if I could journalist. I'm interested in journalisting you, or with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's-
Well, I've learned a lot. Today I journalisted,
You journalisted.
and I learned a really fascinating story. It took place many times in the past, and it involved Max eating paper, but it was accidental.
Ooh. Oh, so it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I don't know. It happened many times, so it may be a thing.
Oh,
I don't-
yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand the youth of America. It's very weird. Nice. Oh, I like how it goes to the bear claps.
I feel like I need to
Oh,
get high.
Lucas. Lucas has a story to share. Can you come on down here,
Yes,
Lucas?
Oh shit. Okay.
Here he comes.
Please come down,
Ooh,
yeah.
Look at that.
Here
Whoa!
we go.
Okay.
So I was
All right.
talking to Chris, and I asked him about the rumors about his uncle's involvement with the cartel. He said, "How did you know that?" and proceeded to threaten me. It was a very good conversation. Then I learned that Steven is really afraid of earthquakes. So yesterday was not a fun day for him since he's from LA.
Oh no.
Bro,
Those,
I didn't
those,
sign-
those are
I
my
didn't wait
stories,
there.
guys.
Wow.
That's
Great stories,
and he's
Lucas.
out.
Applause for
Right.
Lucas.
Applause.
Applause.
yeah.
Steven.
Applause. Yeah.
Nice. Any
Applause.
other journalisties to share? Or journalist stores? Stories, that's the word. Any other stories to share?
Stories.
Okay, I usually get paid for this, so I'm not doing it for free.
Oh, good point. Good point. Okay.
All right, really quickly,
All right.
really quickly.
Oh, here we
Alright,
go.
Wonderful.
First-
Stephen, welcome to the
first-
stage.
Thank you. Let me bow. No, it's my head. So for Lucas, you're cross your eyes. So Lucas is scared of things in three. They come in patterns of three, and if he sees them, he wants to punch them. So please,
Ooh.
Chris, somebody
I-
bring up a pattern of three, put it on Bobby's
Yikes.
face,
Oh.
and let's have Lucas punch
What?
Bobby's
Yikes.
face.
What? What did I
You
do?
bastard!
I'm sorry. I love you, Bob.
Spilled the beans.
Oh my god.
I'm
Yeah, you way to go. You
Wonderful.
that's like Steven to take advantage of someone like that.
Cool. Well,
Exploit.
We know each other's
Exploit.
last
weaknesses.
chance. Any other stories to share, or we will move on to the next part of our morning. And where you are.
Wait, who's here? Who's in the morning right now? Hands up if you're in the morning. Oh, there you. Oh, look at that.
Doesn't that
Oh yeah,
depend on what-
Mata.
Yeah, this is all around the world.
Oh,
Hey, cool.
We're around the world.
So, for the next item in our agenda, oh, hold on, I'm saving my recording. I'm gonna just give us a little bit of a change of scenery to somewhere a little bit closer, where we can feel a little bit more intimate. And I'm going to be welcoming. Does that sound weird?
You're gonna.
I'm really welcoming two very special guests who join me on stage for a little bit of a chat. But first, if everybody's ready, we're gonna do a little bit of a switcheroo.
Wow.
Are you all ready?
We'll switch.
What
Ready,
is
Nick?
happening? What is
Okay.
going
Wait,
on?
why is Lucas
Look at
riding
Nick.
the Lucas?
No,
Is,
Luke-
Lucas is
Lucas.
riding the
Good
tiger.
God. Look at that guy. Jeez.
One, welcome
alright.
back. Glad everybody's still here. And now, I'm very, very excited to introduce two lovely people, friends of mine, and very important journalists in our industry. First, welcome Sarah Durong.
Dara.
Ah!
Dara.
Hi.
Look at that hair.
Woo.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh,
This is pretty
Lucas
awesome.
is
Oh,
It looks like you're trying to look at your own hair.
Tell me I'm still 7. That's tight.
Dude.
Okay, wonderful.
uh,
So we have Dara and our second guest. I think he's somewhere in here. Yes, we have
I'm
Bobby
hiding.
Carlton.
I'm
Yeah,
hiding.
Bobby.
You're hiding right in front of my eyes.
Bobby.
Excellent.
Whoa, I'm in the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Cool.
If you see me doing this,
And
I'm just
myself.
trying to get steps on my watch. Trying to get the
Mhm.
counts in,
Put
you
on
know?
your dog.
Yeah, right. My dog's somewhere in there. I love the single clap back there. The
Yeah.
young guy. Please don't stop. Yes. To do.
Or she could do
You
finger
guys are now off of 3D sound. So I
Oh,
think
all right.
everybody in the
That's-
room should hear you. begin,
good.
yeah, I didn't do an introduction because I was worried I would ruin it. So I would like to give both of you the opportunity to introduce yourself.
I will. I
Sure.
will.
Would you? Thank
You may go first.
Yes, that one. Thank you. Yeah, it's really nice to see quite a few of you that I know. So this is so cool.
Battery.
This is also one of my first events that I've done all in VR and with hair this nice. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited about that too. Yeah, as far as professionally, I've been a journalist now for about 7 or 8 years. And I've worked for a myriad of publications as an independent journalist and columnist and reporter. All journalism covers those, but different ways in which you do your journalistic thing. What was it? Journalism? What did we
Jour-
say before?
What do we call it? Journalism.
Journalistic,
journalism?
yeah. Something like
We were
that.
journalism.
Journalisming.
Yes, exactly. I started my career covering music, which was really great. I covered live music for years, and it was intense and amazing. And I toured a lot, and I worked with a lot of great musicians. And then I started covering arts and culture from there, and politics and breaking news. Very exciting stuff. And I adored it. And then in recent years, since working in tech, I've started covering immersive technology, and it's great. It encompasses culture and economics and politics and art and all of these other things that I've already been covering, but it's a whole new frontier. So I really love it. And then I get to work with people like Bobby.
Yes. We've actually collaborated once together.
We have, by accident.
Accidentally. It was an article that we both got the press release on for some reason.
Yes.
And I'd kind of had shelved it, and I started writing a piece and submitted it, and then you had written another piece and submitted it, and so it took. And I just want to put a shout out to Kyle Melnick, who wonderful editor who made it all work. But for me, I'm actually I didn't go to college for journalism, or we can use a soft J, right? So your journalism. How would a soft J would go? Journalism.
Yeah, that one.
But that works. But I didn't go to school for journalism, and I actually became a journalist, a quote unquote VR journalist, sort of by accident. I was working in the VR AR sector, doing research on how AR and VR was being used in in the workforce as a tool for workforce education, and I stumbled across VR Scouts, and I called Malia Probst because I had a couple of questions about an article that they had written. And from there, I just talked to her and said, if you're ever looking for a writer, let me know. And surprisingly, she said yes. And I found myself learning how to be a journalist on the fly, taking it day by day, article by article. The hard part was I had to take the criticism. That was the way I knew I was going to grow and actually become a VR journalist. Was the criticism was like the feedback that I received helped me sort of steer how I wrote. And when I look back at my older articles, I can definitely tell I had no idea what I was doing. Even to this day, I feel like I still know what I'm doing. But, but I'm having fun, and I enjoy it. It's fun talking to the developers and talking to the creators. I was talking to Eric and Mata earlier today. Part of the exercise, and it was this whole thing that it was interesting to learn that COVID-19 has really given them time to explore, developing and creating, and I thought that was really interesting. And so that's what the fun part about being a journalist in this area is.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's journalism and the act of journaleering it's
Sure.
interesting
Yes.
because it does give you an opportunity to connect with so many people and like to be able to just kind of instantly, I guess it's like a license to skip like certain kind of social like standards. Like I can't just walk up to somebody and be like, "Why have you spent the past 2 years making this game?" They'd be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" Like, I'd be like, "What does that
Yeah.
mean to you? Like, what are you trying to express today?" And it's like people wouldn't
Yeah.
accept that from me as a stranger.
Yeah,
But so
I
yeah,
mean,
how do
the
you guys
first time
enjoy that?
I love it. I mean, the
Very
first time I
much
met
so.
Dara was at Tribeca Film Festival, right? That's when our
Yeah.
first time we met.
Mhm.
And it was interesting to go to these people and just ask
Oh,
them like,
yeah.
hey, I'm here for a day. What's it like? Did you won this award? What happened? How did that happen? And you're kind of just throwing out questions quickly.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was again Kyle Melnick, the editor that Bobby mentioned, had said, you guys got to connect. Shockingly, and to my knowledge, it's still the same thing. We are two of the only VR scout reporters on the East Coast, and I think we're the only
Yes.
two covering New York City, which is crazy. And I know that you're upstate, and I am in the city, and of course, we can report on anyone, anywhere, in any project. But it is crazy. Just the two of us in New York. But yeah, I mean, when you're saying, what are the benefits to it, you're completely right. Being a journalist and having the clout of being able to report allows you to talk to almost anyone that you want to. And there's the responsibility of ethically covering them and not having a bias and not, just how do I say this? Not just accepting pitches for the sake of it or because someone wants promotion, but actually doing your research and figuring out what the story is there. But the cool thing I think that, Bobby, you and I have in common is that so often we get to hear incredible stories from amazing, dedicated people, and we get the job of promoting their work because they worked hard to have a story worth reporting. And so it's just like
Right.
a constant celebration of people that are really trying to put themselves out there and that are working hard at their career or at their product.
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly. And it's this idea, that my whole thing is, and it's always been a concern, and I'm always worried. This is one thing I'm always worried about is I don't ever want to come across as a salesperson. Like I'm not trying to sell you on VR, AR. I'm not trying to sell you on this new VR application, but I want to be excited about it, and I want you to be excited about it. And so that's always a tough part for me is whenever I approach an article, I just don't want to be a salesperson, because then I feel like at that point, if I am that person, that I'm just not doing the best job of what I should be doing, which is reporting the story or talking about what it is. And just recently, I don't want to bring up Lucas, but Lucas was the center of one of my VR Scout articles. He had built this VR time machine, and though the article is really about the VR time machine, I really wanted it to be about sort of this idea of what was the impact on not just Lucas but on other people, like the idea of what would you do if you could walk back in time and look at yourself. And I hope I did you justice, Lucas. I don't know, maybe. but my thought is I just didn't want it to be I was selling his services. I was presenting the story.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. And I always kind of wonder about that. I guess that balance between something that you're excited about and that you care about, and but also putting an unbiased story. And is it, if you love it, maybe you love it because it's good, and is that biased anymore because you love it? And then like how do you share something that you're so passionate about and that you're so excited about in an unbiased way?
I love Bobby, you look over at me. I think that I don't think this. I know this and I believe it deeply. And also, I didn't go to school for journalism either. It's a self-taught skill. So you and I have that in common. took like a journalism class here and there, but for the most part, it was like getting thrown into the fire. And I believe in the principles of journalism in that you must be ethical, you must do your research, you must report the facts, you must update if the facts change, you have to be open to your assumptions being changed. And ideally, journalism at its core, at its best, in theory, is completely objective, but it's not. And so normally you gravitate towards reporting on things that you are passionate about. And you just try, in my case, I'm sure with you, Bobby, too, you just get the facts and you try to be as open, and it also affects and colors the words you choose. You don't have to write, this person's the most amazing. It could just be like, hey, this product they, worked effortlessly on and it took them a very long time, and let their work speak for itself. How you write the story.
Yeah,
But definitely. I mean, it's part of it, considering that.
Yeah, interesting. That I, I try to sort of word it in certain ways, and that I always wanted it to feel like a fireside chat and less like me being super, nerdy, technical, and I don't want to come across as the expert of VR or AR. I want to come across as someone who you're sitting across, at a bar, and someone says, "Hey, what do you do?" And I'm just talking to them, and I'm telling them about something that I've done, and without getting going too deep into the technology, or going too deep into, it has this type of resolution and the stereoscopic sound, and I just want people to sort of understand it, like non-AR VR people to understand it, and I think that again comes from the fact that I'm not a trained journalist. I mean, I went to school for photojournalism, which was just like, I wanted to pursue storytelling. That was my passion until I had an advisor tell me this is so. I'm a lot older than people think. But I had an advisor. This is back when you could smoke cigarettes in their office, and he told me that in the future, everyone's going to be a photojournalist, and somehow he predicted Instagram and Facebook, and I'm really just angry about that. I did not, buy into that. But the idea was, I just think that being a VR journalist. Is just another form of storytelling, but in a different way. Again, as a non-trained journalist would put it. I'm sure journalism majors around the world are screaming right now.
Bobby!
Bobby,
You
at
ruined
least
it for
we're in
us.
space. Where are they now?
That's
They didn't
right.
join us. They're in
That's
space.
right. They're not here. They're not
Yeah.
here.
You bring up something like casual conversation. I think it depends on the publication you work for. So, within the immersive world, there are niche publications. Like I would describe Road to VR as being more technical. And one of my favorite things about the publications you and I both work for, being VR Scout, is that often it's the first time, it's like the front lines, I should say, for people who don't know anything about immersive tech, and they come to VR Scout. That's a lot of the audience, and they're just learning about XR, and we have the responsibility of sucking people in / explaining concepts that are a lot more complicated to people that might not understand what we're talking about. And it's a cool responsibility. We're producing work and content and articles that someone might read and suddenly be interested in jumping into our industry. So it's a cool job to have.
Absolutely.
Well,
It
that
is.
actually
It's
makes
something
me
about
think
fun.
of an Bobby.
No,
A
go
lot
ahead.
of
Go ahead,
fun.
Nick. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. I mean, I get to there are times I get the scoop on something that's coming out a month from now, and
Mhm.
I have to sort of keep it under wraps, and or I get a little heads up, like an article is under embargo. True story. The first time I had an article and someone said, "Hey, this is under embargo until this date," I had to call a friend of mine who was an actual journalist to be like, "What does that mean?" like, what does that exactly mean? um, but
That's so funny.
but no, yeah, it's super fun. You know, I'm having fun. That's all I'm doing.
I love that feeling of like you'll get someone who has no idea how to pitch, no clue how to approach a journalist, but they have a wonderful thing that they really loved working on, and they're very like I'm thinking of this one team in Canada that I've recently been chatting with, and they reached out to me, and they had no idea how to celebrate their work or talk about themselves, and it was really cool because what they're doing is awesome, and I can't talk about it, but I was so proud of them. I'm like, wow, I get to find out about this and then share it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So it's special. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It really is. I mean, I think when you know, during the Tribeca Film Festival, seeing all those you know, VR films and experiences, and being able to talk to the directors was really amazing. It was one of honestly like there are like two highlights of I think my VR Scout career when I think about it. One was talking to the director of The Key at Tribeca Film Festival, and the other was I was able to write an article about the Unabomber and how the FBI was creating a virtual reality experience, and I got to interview the lead FBI agent on that case. Yeah, which was totally cool. You know, I would never have done that in my former life. You know, that just would never have happened. So it's just always these amazing opportunities that you get
That's
being
so
a journalist.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
That's awesome.
I love that. I think we just saw a question. Was that a question from Steven? A hand raise?
It was not. I was gonna say the second thing was.
Oh, he was
meeting.
he was
me.
just stretching. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh, meeting
Good.
Steve. Yeah, the third thing is meeting Steven Sato.
Okay. I have a question. If that's okay. How do you feel about relationships with people being a journalist? Like, the dynamic of you getting something from them and also them getting something from you, how does that affect like connecting with people? Do you feel you're on an equal ground, or do you kind of is it friendships that you have with people, or are you doing business? Do people treat you differently because you're a journalist? Do you treat people differently because you're a journalist? The human dynamic of being a journalist.
No friends ever again. As you say, you're a journalist. Ever just pitching you. No, I can reflect on it. Bobby, if you have an immediate answer, I'm gonna take a second to think on that one.
Well, so I will say this. I've definitely had situations where someone reaches out to me and they're like, hey, you know, I love all your articles, and you do the whole thing. I love all your articles. You wrote this one piece, and I thought that was really cool. By the way, I have a press release. Can I get it to you? And I will definitely say that I've made a lot of amazing friends through VR, writing for VR Scout. I mean, obviously, I met Nick and Steve and you know, and Dar and Max and you know and Chris and you know Steve Banbury. I mean, the list goes on and on of all these incredible people that I've met through VR. I've definitely have written about projects they've been behind, and I've definitely written about projects that you know I've written about FXG. I mean, I've written about you know, Engage, and I've written about AltSpace, and you know, and I've met all these really really cool people because of the role that I have at VR Scout. I've never saw it as a like, hey, you know, I'm just trying to be your friend so I can get some press out of you, you know, and because there definitely have been times when someone says, hey, I have this thing, can you write about it? And I've just told them straight out, like, you know, I just I don't see what, you know, like, I don't see what the story in there, you know, and I'll give you a really great example. This is before I joined, so I have a second role. I work with this organization called Ready Learner One. And before I was with the company, they came to me and asked me, they sent me a press release and said, hey, can we get some press out of this? And at the time, they really weren't doing anything that I thought, that would be something that, I mean, I try to find articles that I think that will change how people view VR and AR, and I think will change how an industry looks at the technology, and and um, and at the time there was a lot of articles about organizations using VR and AR for schooling, and so at the time I just, I told them no, like there's just nothing right solid there for me, and they were cool about it, and they, and they still hired me, they're still, so they weren't upset, but you do get things like that, and I definitely have gotten, I mean, I'll definitely say, I've gotten, hardware from companies who said, can you look at this and test it out, and keep it, and um, so but I never try to take advantage of that. I've never gone to a company and said, hey, can you give me this and this and this, and I'll write about it. I've never done that. Um, but I always try to make sure that the relationship, there's a relationship there versus sort of I take from you, you take from me type of situation. That makes sense.
I
Raise your hands if you
agree with
disagree.
you. I agree with you on that note. I think it's a great way. I mean, there are a lot of advantages to it, being able to attend events, but you have the responsibility of covering that event and covering it in a fair way. I've had people approach me similarly, Bobby, where they'll be like, write about me or write about my thing. And I'm like, I don't really see that the story is. In the past week, I've had like 3 different people reach out to me outside of other people reaching out related to press releases and stuff. 3 specific individuals that were like, I'm making a thing. Do you like it? You should write an article. And I had to respond back to all 3 of them uniquely, different ways of writing this, and saying, I need you to send me what your pitch is. I need you to send me a press release. I need you to send me something that shows me that there's some depth to this story, because otherwise you just telling me that you're interesting is not enough to like catch me to write something. And if it's an interview with someone, normally that's either assigned by an editor, it's us uniquely finding that person and being like, oh, what, your career, your work. But I agree with Bobby. I don't think that my friendships have ever been built off of someone trying to sort of milk that relationship just to get press. I think people actually are more nervous than anything to directly ask me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or like I'll do studio visits, because I also work as a creative director now. I work with a lot of different agencies, and I'll do brand strategy for clients. Just it's strategy in general, creative strategy for different companies and media brands. And I get to work with a lot of really cool artists, and I'll go do studio visits or something, and a lot of them will sort of beat around the bush in terms of me being a journalist, because they won't know how to approach it without seeming self-aggrandizing, when in fact a lot of them could be like, hey, if you're ever interested, I'd love to follow up and send you material, but you let me know. I feel like that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, just today I actually had someone through Twitter instant message me and said, I have this VR experience. Would you like to try it? And here's a key. And I was like, well, look send me a press release, and let me take a look at it. And I can't promise anything. I mean, one time I will say this. One time someone came to me and criticized me because I had actually I was on a panel, a different panel, and this sort of question, the same question came up, and I'd said, like, look, I really try to write about things that I think are game changers in the industry, or will do something. And someone said, hey, came up to me and said, I pitched you this article that that was going to change marketing, which true it was. And he had said, you passed on it, and then he pulled up this article that I wrote, and it was kind of a silly article. It was like this weird little augmented reality app, this based off of this kids movie, and it just made like this this little augmented reality character like terrorize little kids, and it was goofy. And he was like, you wrote about that, but you didn't write about mine and why. And the reason was at the time there was no mechanism like that of using AR in that way as a marketing tool. Like AR had been used for marketing in a lot of ways. Walking Dead, and Mountain Dew did AR, and Star Wars action figures, obviously, and that whole universe. But it was Goosebumps. That was the show, that movie Goosebumps. But this was done in a way to specifically market towards young kids, and that's why I wrote about it, because it was something new. It was a new layer of a new audience of getting AR into younger hands, and so some people always have difficulty, right, like accepting the fact that, and it's a bummer, but I'm not trying to upset people. I'm just trying to let them know that that there's just maybe nothing there. I mean, I even think at one point, Nick, I think you maybe through something. I mean, I just couldn't get anything around it at one point in the early days of FXG.
Oh yeah, I don't remember what it was. It was like, oh, there's a thing,
Yeah.
and you were like, nah. I didn't remember what it was, but yeah, I love that, and I think, I guess it's for me like there's so much complicated, murky water when you end up like, mixing business and friendship, and
Yeah.
it's like even for me, like at FXG, like the team is like my best friends, and like the other people in the industry who I like am friends with, but also they're like important people for the business of FXG. And it's like I feel for me, I need to kind of detach myself in some ways, like, look at things like completely separately. It's like Bobby and Dara are my friends, and it's like if I said like, hey, do you want to have a Skype chat, like feeling down and I need to talk about something, and then you say no, then I'll like be maybe disappointed or hurt. And on the other side, when it's something business related, I say like, hey, I got a pitch, and you're like, this doesn't interest me, or the journalism, I can't let business Bobby choice negatively impact my opinion of friend Bobby.
And I hope
think-
I've never upset you.
I think that's any creative role, though.
I haven't,
Like, for
because
a lot of
I
us,
make that separation, which I think keeps me safe and keeps my friendship safe, because I look at things in kind of almost, there's two versions of me and two versions of everybody I know, and they can interact with each other differently.
what I was just saying to that point as well, though, is like working in a creative industry that I'm sure a lot of us are. I mean, I think for anyone working in immersive, there's a lot of creativity to it and the reinvention of it. And in general, if you work with teams, you collaborate with people, friends, whomever, you are going to have creative disagreements. And I think that you can move past those by going like, let's definitely do dinner together on Friday night. But you know what? I don't know if that idea should go to the client. Let's talk about it more. And I don't know if it's all that dissimilar. I know it could feel like a rejection of one's idea, but I think, Bobby, I certainly don't want to speak for you, so feel free to disagree, but I think a lot of the time for us, it's if we say no, it's not no, it's maybe later. It's like, come back when the story is stronger. It's not your idea is horrible, never talk to me about it again, we're done, like, not worth it. It's like, hey, take 2 months, flesh it out a little bit, maybe read a press release if you don't know how to write one, and then come back. And if there's a story there, there's a story. There's always stories. Just depends on how they're pitched.
Very true. But so I don't know if you've ever heard of Bob Brockman, who's a legendary music producer. He's worked with some pretty amazing. The guy has won Grammys for some of the music he's done. And he's worked with hip hop artists, and he came to me and pitched this story to me, and I just was like Dara said, like there just wasn't there wasn't something solid there, and so it's okay to say no, but definitely keep coming back, and he does. He will definitely keep. He pings me every so often, says, "Hey, I'm still working on this project. Are you? What do you think?" And Giant Laser is another company. Those guys are always pitching me things. Jacob's his name, great guy, and I'm like, not yet. Keep, come back at me with it, and then eventually he gets something developed, and he's like, yeah, then it's like, that looks really cool. I'll write about that. So it's just a matter of just like, giving, for me at least, and I'm sure for Dar as well, it's just like, have a really great press release, or just have some really good information, and show us, I guess why I should be writing about it. That's all.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess just for me as a fan of both of your work and the things that you write about, I think that that's the reason why I would want to contact either of you with something that we're doing, is because I know that the things you write about, you actually feel that they're interesting and meaningful, and when you write about them, it sounds interesting and meaningful, and that's what brings you value as you just wrote about them because of whatever reason to not hurt my feelings, then there wouldn't really be any value in that anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because then even the
I do.
interesting things I would write about probably wouldn't be interesting because you'd have lost that spark.
I mean, there's always value in hurting your feelings, Nick. So, but
Shit.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
but
that's
no,
wonderful. Okay. Oh,
I was just thinking. I'm sorry.
that's the quote of the night. There's always value in hurting your feelings, Nick. Well, okay, I have a little surprise to throw on you guys. You can turn me down if you like, but the next part of the event, Max is going to be showing a 360 piece of journalism that she made of the Juneteenth marches. And if you two are interested, I was thinking Max could I seat after she shows the video, and you guys could ask her a couple questions.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
do you want to
very
rapid
cool.
fire? Well, Max will totally overwhelm you and ask questions simultaneously. Not prepare for a test, Nick.
Excellent.
Get fist bump.
Yeah.
All right.
Max, do you have
Cool.
a press release you can give us?
Yeah,
Is it fully formed?
let me get on
2
that.
minute pitch? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. Wonderful questions. It feels interesting to be interviewed on this side of things. How about we change venues? I think this screen might be a little bit too small for one of the slides here.
Steve Zato.
Okay. Well, let's go watch the video first.
I just want to can you put the first slide of Edwin and I up? Just want to do a quick introduction.
Brooklyn 360. Oh, hold on. They just went away. Everybody first, let's give a round of applause
Oh,
for
am I supposed to come back?
Dara and Bobby. That was awesome.
Oh,
You can come back and
thank
do a
you
little
for
bow,
having us.
and then I'll call you back up in a second to talk to Max.
All right.
So the only slides are just these two. Max just showing you and Edwin.
All right, so we can just start here. I just wanted to say Edwin was supposed to be here tonight. He couldn't be because headsets are still really hard to purchase at the moment, but hopefully he's going to be joining the next event. But Edwin, just to give a quick intro of him since he can't be here, he's the former immersive director at NBC News. Now he has his own company, VR Video. He's also a 360 director. And yeah, sometimes we film stuff together because we were both in New York and we're friends. So yeah, that's Max, or that's Edwin. I'm Max. I know most of you, but I'm head of US operations at FXG, and I went to Brooklyn on Juneteenth, a little over a month ago, to film some of the protests that were happening there. Juneteenth was a little extra special this year due to the protests that have been going on surrounding the date for BLM. So just in case anyone here is a little bit unfamiliar with what Juneteenth is, I have an official definition that you can read. Not sure if the text is going to be large enough, but feel free to come up closer on the stage to get a better look.
No, I deleted that text. I deleted that
deleted
slide.
Okay. In that case, we can go to the 360 room and check it out. I'm gonna let
What's
I really
this
like
on?
that poster.
Great.
Poster's very
yeah,
beautiful.
Oh, I'm in space.
Holy shit.
Mm.
I'm State Senator Zelnor Myrie. I have the honor of representing Central Brooklyn in the State Senate. And I'm so... Here, we can share for that. Here. And I'm going to be joined today by my colleague in the Assembly, Assemblymember Diana Richardson. And we wanted to come and speak. I know y'all didn't come for speeches. Y'all came for a good time. And so we don't want to, belabor the point. But I and Assemblymember Richardson, 3 weeks ago, went out to peacefully protest at the Barclays Center. And we were clearly identified as elected officials. And even during that peaceful protest, we were met with pepper spray and handcuffs. And this has been in the news and it's been all over, but we've tried to use that traumatic experience to try to get some changes here in the state of New York. And so I just want to leave you guys with 3 P's. Somebody say 3 P's. 3 P's. The pain, the politics, and the progress. The pain we know. It's the pain we felt in this country for centuries. A pain we are all too familiar with. A pain that is in the soil of the United States of America. But the politics has prevented that pain from becoming progress. The politics have said that we have to wait to end police brutality. The politics have said that we can't have true economic equality. The politics says we have to have inferior schools and unaffordable housing. But we are standing up in this country today. And this celebration that we have is just the beginning of the progress that we need. But you can't get the progress if you let them do the politics. You gotta get involved. You have to get involved. Because if you are not in the politics, someone else is, and they're gonna be making the decisions for you. So we know the
That's good, buddy.
pain,
Have a good...
we know what the politics are, and now it's time for real progress. And with that, I'm gonna pass it on to my colleague, Assemblymember Diana Richardson.
Richardson. I represent the communities of Crown Heights, Prospect, Lepers Gardens, and East Flatbush. I am here today as an unapologetic black woman. I am here today rightfully angry because as we celebrate the freedom of our ancestors here Juneteenth, we have come so far only to find out we have never been free. This United States of America that we are living in is rooted in racism. And it is the racism that we are seeing rear its ugly head every single day. The racism within the police department, which is why we need to defund the police. It is the racism that we are seeing in the healthcare institution, which makes our communities more susceptible to COVID-19. It is the racism in the education system that has the education disparities from school district to school district. And it's one thing for me to call out to you guys what's the problem. But I'm giving a call to action today that we must continue to put our foot right back on the neck of the system. We cannot afford to let up this time. I am sick and tired of saying enough is enough. So while we organize ourselves with marches like this, it is time to create the Black Agenda. A Black agenda around every single policy area, a Black agenda around every single candidate running for office. Don't let people pimp your vote. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Don't let people pimp your vote. March today and make sure you go and exercise your right to vote. But it is up to you to do the research to know who you are backing.
Congratulations.
Nice, Max.
Nice work.
Hell yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Guys, I just showed up with the camera.
Congrats.
Shall we
That's
stay
awesome.
here or? All right, let's stay here.
Oh, where's Nick? Oh,
I think
right.
you crashed,
left.
Dad.
So I am just curious to hear from some of you guys actually just how you were feeling during the experience and if there were any parts that were sort of standing out to you.
I kind of enjoyed the immersion that you got being in the middle of a protest. It's not something that you can get on a YouTube video or watching it on a news screen, but just standing in the middle and looking around and seeing the people there, hearing it, you feel way more like you were actually there.
I agree.
Yeah, you could really feel the energy and feel the emotion, right?
Yeah.
You could, yeah. You felt the intensity of the people marching, and you know
Right.
the feelings that they were having were really sort of conveyed, and especially in those parts when you're marching with people and you're looking around and you're seeing the faces, you know, and some of them are very passionate, some of them are very emotional. That was pretty cool. It's powerful.
It made me really miss New York because I wasn't here during that protest in particular, and just the pain that this state was going through and our country is going through, and it's pretty significant to be able to document that right now because those moments will be in textbooks very shortly.
I
And
just
Max,
got
what were
disconnected.
you-
Is the Q&A happening right now? Are you
Yeah, we did. We
journalizing?
watched it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I actually came back in. I came back in at one moment and I could see everybody, but not the video. And everybody was just like staring down and like looking
Yeah.
up. And I was like, I think the video's playing. Do you want to go back to the other space for our little sit down?
Sure.
Sure.
Get
Okay.
cozy.
Yeah, I like the coziness. Right. And teleporting.
All right. Yeah, did anyone else have anything to share?
Max, I do have a question for you. This is Bobby Carlton.
Hey, Bobby.
So when you went to the march, what were your expectations? Like, what did you think you were going to capture but didn't, and what did you capture that you didn't expect?
That's a
Good
great
questions.
question. Yeah, so my expectations were a bit jumbled, to be honest. You know, the couple of weeks leading up to that particular day had, there was so much violence going on in the news, a lot of protests turning badly. Um, and so when I told my family, for example, I'm going to Brooklyn to film this march, they're really worried about me getting caught up, in the middle of police brutality or just, anything like that. So I didn't really have any expectations, but I was hoping to really just capture everything the way that it was. And I didn't really have any sort of a film plan. Basically, Edwin and I, we both had 360 cameras and we were taking turns for probably 6 hours or so for the sake of battery life. So he would film and then I would film and we kept going like that until both of our cameras were dead and we had to call it a day. So yeah, we basically just went into it trying to get as much possible footage as we could and then, do it and edit in the end. But I would say I feared things would get violent, and I was so pleasantly surprised to see that they didn't, given how commonly that was happening like the day before, really. So that was really nice, and it ended up just being a super sort of celebrational day. Everyone singing and dancing and just, being together communally and thinking about this historic moment and celebrating it. Something that I captured that I didn't expect to. Again, just not really having a plan, but just sort of holding a camera for 6 hours. When I was watching the footage back just on my desktop, I wasn't able to notice this, but it ended up in the final cut. And when I watched it through a headset, I was really surprised to see this shot. I don't know if you guys noticed. Painting of George right in front of your eyes, like really close to your face, and it almost feels like you're looking at each other. That was not a purposeful shot in any way, and it also just happened to make it into the final cut, even though I didn't realize how powerful that shot was when I was watching it back on my desktop. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have, you're having this wonderful opportunity to debut it right now. Do you have plans for it? Because I stand by what I said a few minutes ago. You should look into a museum. You should. I really mean it. I didn't hear that. I haven't thought about that prospect specifically. You guys you guys were giving me thoughts when you were talking. I was like, all right, I'm getting these guys a press release in the next week. But no, I hadn't thought about, the prospect of putting it in a museum, and I would appreciate if you have any sort of feedback or ideas about how to go about doing that. Because yeah, I don't really know how to do that, but I definitely would love to get a press release out there to not only VR publications but also just news in general. I'm aware of, because of the journalist thing, I'm aware of a few other pieces that are done in 360 that are documentaries of the recent protests that have been going on, the current protests. And there are a few that I know that are being made, that are in post-production, some that are still being shot. And I don't think it's a disadvantage, because when you think statistically of the amount of people who have access to 360 cameras, that know how to use them, that were willing to go to these protests, that were in major US cities, it's such a small group. And there's a chance to, once other people release theirs, there's a chance for several of you to kind of come together and maybe do like some type of show in the future. Maybe it's like like now you could do an anniversary show of a year from now. That's still a very recent timeline of a year to reflect back, and it could be like 6 pieces, yours and a few others that will be, coming out at some point soon, hopefully.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I've even I've even tried to get in touch with the organizers of this march. It was in the video March for Our Lives organized this particular one that I went to. Um, and I've haven't been able to get in contact with them yet, unfortunately. I wanted to sort of have a more collaborative effort with them. But yeah, so far I have not gotten any responses back. But yeah, I think it would be great to collaborate with people around the world because these protests are really happening not just in the US
Yeah.
but everywhere. And it would be great to pull our resources together and do something like that. Yeah.
What,
Do you plan to keep
Max? Oh,
documenting?
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, do you plan to keep doing documentation of other protests or civil rights events? Yeah, for sure. Because of COVID and how travel is a bit less accessible at the moment, I'm definitely not really getting on planes and trains and buses to get to them. But wherever I go, Edwin and I, now that I'm in California and Edwin's still in New York, we're consistently talking and watching out for current events and planned protests that are coming to see if we're able to cover anyone that are nearby us. Great.
Uh, 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 kind of a question, kind of off of Dara. This idea. So you're documenting these moments, these historical moments. You're really capturing like a sliver of sort of what's happening of this much larger story. What are your thoughts when young kids, young children, and start to access VR and they watch these films in 5 years and like what are you hoping that they walk away from after seeing this? Is it are you just looking just to sort of be a journalist and tell the story, or do you want something beyond that? Or what are your ambitions on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my own hopes and goals for things like this. I would prefer to stay as neutral as possible while covering things of an immersive experience from which people can develop their own opinions and thoughts and feelings without me pushing ideas onto them. But yeah, of course, I have. There's an agenda that exists in my brain that I'm going to try my very best to keep on the more neutral side. But I would say that I'm a huge fan of VR for empathy. That's sort of what my passion is, my research, my goals are involved in. And so for those kids who will hopefully watch this video or other videos now or in the future, I'm hoping that they can empathize with what they've just experienced. Looking back in grade school when I was reading textbooks about events that were negative, you're studying for a test basically, and you're memorizing and you're trying to get the grades that will help you in the future, but you're not connecting with the actual story and with the actual people and the events themselves. So that's my hope, is to enable people to connect better with what's going on.
Have you thought about talking to Kai XR?
I have. I'm a huge fan of Kai.
She's cool. I'm finishing an article actually about her right now because she's had some great stuff going on. So I have to get that article probably done this weekend. She's so badass. And if anyone doesn't know who Kai is, she's an educator who went from more formal ways of educating, and then she kind of dropped everything that she was doing to work for the Smithsonian, of course, education related, and then now works directly with kids and getting them XR resources. And she curates different experiences to teach kids about history and about relevant politics at all different ages. And maybe you want to talk to her.
Totally, yeah. Kai and I have never met in person, unfortunately, but we've been sort of cheering each other on via LinkedIn for a while now. And I'm constantly following her work and just being like, yeah, that's amazing, and sharing all her stuff. But I definitely need to schedule a call and actually have a conversation.
She'd probably be really excited about this, especially because it's brand new and there are kids that don't know what's going on. So to have a visual reference, because children really haven't been super included in protests for obvious reason. Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Allows
that's really
this would allow them to participate in a march. Obviously one thing about VR is you can be in dangerous environments without having, sort of real world consequences. And this would allow a young person to be in the march, participate in the march, and sit in the march, without, possibly catching COVID-19 or seeing violence. And I did want to ask. So we always talk about this idea of, VR connecting with connecting with an audience, young learners and young people. When I watched your piece, I covered a piece called Testimony a few years back, and Testimony was this virtual reality experience where you were just an audience member hearing stories of sexual assaults, and the experience was used both with like other victims were able to watch it and sort of have this sort of safety place to sort of be able to know that they're not alone. But on the flip side of it, it was also used. It was shown to individuals who were committing, sexual assault. Do you ever think that like VR, especially this piece, with the Blue Lives Matter movement, right? These sort of like organizations that are really trying to fight against Black Lives Matter. Like, what do you think your film would do in that environment? Like, with somebody who, like that type of impact?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. If I were creating it again for that specific reason, I think I would definitely tweak it and, maybe most of that film was just, marching, and there was a couple of speeches that were really impactful, but it would be nice to get some more personal, storytelling or just kind of like hanging out with people type of shots. But I think that for groups of people who are sort of against the movement, what they lack is the first person experience. They probably won't go to these marches unless they're directly going to these marches to counter protest. So by putting them into an experience like this,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it can sort of induce the feeling of being a part of what's going on and being a part of it for the right reasons. And that just neurologically, it changes things and it lowers your implicit biases.
Wow. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes. And if anybody else has a question, please throw them at Max.
The test. I passed the test. Awesome. Well, I'm going to be publicly posting the link in the next couple of days, so you can look out for it on my personal social media platforms. Yeah, just let me know
Thank you,
any
Max.
additional feedback that you may have in the future. I'm always open to chat.
I just hope you continue to go to these protests and continue to film and in capturing all these moments.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's amazing what you can create by just showing up in a place with a 360 camera compared to showing
Yes.
up to a place with, a 2D camera. It's just, it makes the world of a difference. So yeah, I hope to continue doing work like this.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and it's
Sort of-
hard. I think that you have to have the right temperament to cover this kind of stuff. So good for you for recognizing that in yourself.
Appreciate
One
it.
thing I would like to ask, and then maybe it's a slightly sort of it's same topic but slightly off a bit. Can you tell us a little bit about the camera you used and the technology, like what type of 360 camera?
Yeah, I used the FXG ET2.
It's it's our proprietary camera made by our CTO, Wilson. It's awesome. It shoots in 360 degrees, and I think what made it super special for this particular project was our camera's ability to get so close to the subjects that it's filming. Filming a protest like this, I think it was just crucial that we used our camera, enabling us to get, 30 centimeters away from our subjects, which, enabled that shot of the painting and the shots of people just all around you. And I think that made it all the more impactful. Edwin was using his own camera. I think it was an Insta, but I'm not positive, so don't quote me on that. And I don't know which model. So you might have noticed that some of the shots, the coloring was a little bit different. It was like a little pinkish. So those were Edwin's shots, and then the other ones were shots taken by our EQ.
How did protesters react when they saw your cameras?
Yeah,
they didn't.
They didn't.
So many people visibly noticed that we had these kind of large, almost alien-esque machines that we were holding up in the air, and definitely curious looks, but it seemed like everyone sort of figured it out really quickly, like, oh, that's a 360 camera, and their mindsets were somewhere else. It was in the moment. I just don't think it's cared that much about the cameras. We did get a chance to talk to some of the organizers at one point, and they were just super stoked that we were capturing everything, and they were like, yeah, send us the link later so we can check it out and share it and stuff. So yeah, again, still working on getting hold of them, but yeah, I think everyone just, they were living the protest.
Cool.
Very cool.
Cool. Well, everybody, I'd love to give a round of applause to our wonderful journalisters who are asking questions, and especially to Max Noir. That awesome video and such great things to share.
Yeah.
Congrats. Thanks, guys.
Way
My
to
right
go.
hand died, so I can't clap anymore.
Oh, your right hand died?
Your hand died? That's unfortunate. And yeah, so lastly, I just want to thank the last important people to thank is everybody here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for, wow, that's majestic. For enjoying this with us, for sharing in video with us, and just engaging in this thought process of VR and journalism and this exciting new future that is becoming a reality around us. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you at our
Okay. Yeah, right on.
One last thing, we will be hosting Dimension X events monthly, starting today. So feel free to share messages, WhatsApp, Twitter, wherever it is, and let us know like the themes you're interested in, because they're going to be different themes each month. So yeah, if you took any fun selfies or photos today, hashtag Dimension X.
There you go.
From the Engage Park stage is Kaz and the content team with Rockmageddon.
You know where you are? You in the jungle, baby! You know it,
You guys stand back here. It's awesome. Stand back here.
Right now.
Awesome. That was amazing. Great job.
There we go.
Wow.
Nice.
Why did that end?
Do it
I
again.
know.
Max's computer died apparently due to the intensity
I
of
bet
this.
it did. That kind of melted a few things for sure.
Yeah, my computer almost crashed.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Thanks for a nice Friday night.
Amazing.
Concerts. That was
Bye,
Chris,
have
that was
fun.
so special. was
Cheers,
good.
everybody.
That-
I got
that
some
was
good
awesome.
pictures of y'all up there. I'll send them out.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank
Bye,
you,
Bobby.
Nick, and
Yep,
thank
take
you,
care,
Max.
guys. Happy
Cool.
weekend.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Bye,
Bye.
Bella. Bye, Nick. Bye, everybody.
Bye.